What up, folks? When the Elliot Roger thing happened, in 2014, it did strike a chord with me because I knew somebody that actually said the same things that he said. He's a friend of mine. I kind of had to break it off from because it was getting to be a bit much, but all the guy did was complain about the fact that he didn't have a girlfriend, and he was looking for these model types. And from what I see, girls kind of considered him a decent looking guy, but he just socially he wasn't quite there. There was always something lacking. Actually, I think he was a very high functioning Asperger's syndrome. And with him it was always, what's wrong with me? And I tried to talk to him, he wouldn't listen. And it went on and on for months until finally, we had a little, I don't know if you call it a spat or whatever. And I realized then, this is my time to break away. And I did. So we stopped talking after then. And I was cool with it. But the funny thing was that a couple of people who knew that he and I were friends had asked me about him. And I told them that, we don't talk anymore. And they said, okay, if the guy ever gets a gun and starts shooting people, you're the first person he's going to look for. And we just laughed about it. And this was mentioned in more than one occasion. Well, a few months later, Elliot Roger happens. And I was so shocked when I would go check out those videos on YouTube, and he would say pretty much the same things that my friend was saying, except for the retaliation. He didn't talk about retaliating or getting revenge or retribution or anything like that. The guy was hurting. He really was hurting because he couldn't understand why he couldn't get a girlfriend. And this was the kind of guy could walk in a room and girls were checking him out, but once they start talking with him, they just didn't want to be bothered anymore. It was pretty much as simple as that. And he's always wondered, why was I socially more successful than he was? And I'm not an incel. And see, my friend was what you call an incel. I'm not an incel, but on the other hand, I'm far from being a Tyrone. I guess I consider myself a normie, but just like now, I'm not hooked up with anybody. But I'm not really necessarily looking, but it'd be nice if, a nice female came by. But, I don't sit around hurt and wondering why. Because I already know why. Being a black guy, a dark-skinned black guy, and I'm not athletic, I'm not into thuggerism. Dark guys kind of catch it sometimes. Now, that being said, there are girls that like dark guys. I tend to find that they tend to like the athletic types or the thuggish types. And somebody will say, oh, you're just saying that. And I'm like, okay, it kind of bears out in my experience. So I'm not making these things up. And, one of the things that Elliot Roger and my friend talked about was the fact that it's like they don't belong. And I could kind of relate. It's like you're not invited to a secret club. That time, in some ways, I can relate to that. There is a secret club that's around, that's almost right in front of you. You're not invited inside. And for those who might say that, he's just talking silly when he talks about a secret club. Seinfeld did an episode about the secret club or the Forbidden City or whatever you want to call it, where George Stanza was invited as long as he came with a particular girl or had a a photo of a particular girl, then he was welcome to join. So there is a secret club, a forbidden cities, socially speaking, that some people are not invited to. And I can relate. So my friend was caught up in that, and so was ELLIOT RODGER. Now, the funny thing about ELLIOT RODGER is that I had no idea that he is considered like a patron saint of incels. I mean, when the thing happened in 2014, I paid attention because my friend was saying the same things that ELLIOT RODGER said. Then I pretty much forgot about it. Last week, out of curiosity, I decided to look ELLIOT RODGER up on YouTube. And I saw where there's all kind of YouTube videos about the guy. He's not forgotten. And that amazes me. I mean, the guy killed himself because he couldn't get a girlfriend. I don't get that. I really don't get that. There are girls you're not going to get, but in the end, they're repelled. You don't just kill yourself and kill innocent people because you don't hook up. Honestly, I don't get that. I understand being sad. I understand being confused. You wonder why you're not allowed or whatever, but I don't understand the anger. And just like that guy in Canada that took his van and mowed down a bunch of girls because he's angry, and he basically worshipped what ELLIOT RODGER represented. I really don't get that. I was so shocked when I found out that it was an incel thing. There's all kind of websites related to incels. I don't get it. And understand, women can be difficult sometimes. They seem to chase after the same guy. They'll take abuse from certain guys and overlook others, but I don't know. I just don't see the anger. Because, I mean, I know, especially when it comes to black women, a lot of them, they're into the real pretty boys or they into thug type. And, I mean, it's just the way it is. A lot of us know about it. And, what can I say? It happens. But in that case, I just simply say black women aren't the only women there. And the sad case, when I hear black women talking about black men going to other women, I know for me, there's been so many cases where I get more attention from non-black women than I do black women. Now explain that. If I find the right Bengali girl, I'm probably going to forget all about black women. I mean, that's just a fact. But I don't get the anger part. I don't understand being downright angry because you don't have a girlfriend. And for those who talk about incels, see, and I know the word basically means involuntary celibate, but it's not always about the sexual part. It's the socializing, having somebody to talk with on the phone, somebody to hang out with when people are in groups. The fact that you know that this person might call you every couple of days. Is that thing. It's not necessarily always the sexual part. If ELLIOT RODGER would have had a girl to call him on the phone every now and then, a girl that he hung out with and studied together with, chances are, even though he was kind of screwed up, he probably wouldn't have went on his rampage. Or it might have been delayed. So it's not always the sex. I mean, if it's just the sex, you can easily go to a prostitute. These guys don't want going to a prostitute. They want somebody socially attracted to them. That's what this is about. So, I don't know. I can relate to incels. I can relate to the issues. I just can't relate to the anger part. And again, I'm not an incel, but I'm not a Tyrone. I mean, I never thought 4 years later people would be still talking about ELLIOT RODGER and looking at him like a hero. I mean, he killed innocent people. Now, when I hear the steps of what went on that night, it's funny to me, and I know it shouldn't be funny because people actually died. I mean, 6 people died, and they didn't know there was a war. Just like when he tried to go to the Alpha Phi house and he couldn't get inside, he kept banging on the door. They would open the door. That went wrong. Then he decided, well, a couple of sorority girls were passing by, so he decided to just mow them down. They didn't do him anything. They didn't even know there was a war going on. I mean, he just decided to attack for no reason. Then he passes by a Quickie Mart or something like that. He shoots in there, and somebody gets killed. Then he sees women and guys in the street. He decides to mow them down before the police finally catch up with him, and he takes his own life, which he had planned all along. But it's just sad to me that he felt it had to be that way. I mean, I don't blame women for what happened. I mean, there's certain things that he probably should have did to gain more attention, but why is it that guys gotta go through stuff to gain attention? Why can't you just be you? But I know that's a bit to ask. I don't know. The sad thing is, I know there's going to be more ELLIOT RODGERs. There's more guys that's going to give up on hooking up with somebody, and they feel that it's necessary to hurt somebody else. I mean, it's like they're in some kind of war that nobody else knows that in this war. And the girls that they're killing or hurting or whatever, they didn't even know the guy was in such psychological pain before. There's a part of me that relates to the guy, but I don't know. It's just, I know I myself, I do get glimmers. I call it glimmers, you know. I'm not the type of guy that can walk in a room and all the girls are going to turn their head. But it's the law of averages. Somebody is going to pay attention. In a room full of women, somebody is going to show interest. It's the law of averages. It just happens. And I kind of capitalize on that. That's the best way I can explain it. But I don't know. I don't see the need of being an incel because the law of averages is going to go in my favor. Sometimes I wish it would go in my favor more, but, you know, it is what it is. But to sit around and hurt somebody, I don't get it. And I know I hear about, you know, and you know what? I hate approaching women. I never did like having to approach women. But it's, you know, since I'm not, you know, some suave pretty boy, I'm not a Tyrone, it's a necessary evil. It's just something that, you know, as a guy, we have to do. I mean, there's no women that have come to me and stuff, but for the most part, if I got to hook up, I have to approach the woman. It is what it is. Most of the incels they're talking about on the internet tend to be young Caucasian males. There's black incels as well, for one reason or another. And I guess they were making reference to certain white incels they get ticked off when they see a Tyrone walking arm in arm with some hot Stacy. Well, I mean, maybe you gotta increase your options. Because, like I said before, if black women aren't going to be there, and I've seen evidence that I do have options, I'm going to exercise options. I don't know. I guess I've said enough about this, but I am so shocked and amazed that this is a thing. There's actually people sitting around commiserating or being miserable together over the fact that they can't hook up with somebody. I don't really get that, but in some ways I do get it. Well, see you later.